What would Jim Fetzer do, as seen on TV? Walking down Hollywood Boulevard, major producers approach Jim and ask him the following. A, to reboot All in the Family. B, the lead in the next Superman movie. Or is it C, if he could please be the body double for Mel Gibson's love scenes? So, Team Dana, what is the correct answer to our final question here? You could win the game tonight.
Something about a rigged election.
I heard that.
Sean, what do you think?
I'm thinking he would want to play Archie Bunker. What do you think? Although he does have a chance to be Mel Gibson's body double, I don't know if he would go for that. Because, we're talking the ladies again,
Yeah.
You think you want to go with Archie Bunker, All in the Family?
Jim, what is the correct answer for...
Of those three alternatives, Dean, I'm a huge fan of Mel Gibson. Body double in love scenes.
Damn it, Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
All right. The correct answer to Walking Down Hollywood Boulevard. Jim gets approached and asked if he could be the body double Mel Gibson during the love scene.
Note to self, always pick the one with the ladies.
They knew it. Jim, you're a top
Is there
player.
a theme there?
Danny, you
Oh my
Is
God.
there a pattern?
I'm happy that Hollywood's finally recognizing you. That's what I'm happy about. Okay.
Can you put two and two together, Josh?
One time thing occurred to me. What's real and what's for sale? Blew a kiss and tried to take it home. Isn't you, isn't me? Search for things that you can't see. Going blind, out of reach, somewhere in the destiny.
All right, coming in at number 6 here on the Billboard Top 100 here, Casey Kasem. That's Kate Hudson, Flies in the Vaseline. Or as they say in China, the fly rice in the Vaseline. According to my calculations, welcome everybody to Real Deal Media Live. I am your host here tonight, Dean Ryan. It is a whopper of a Thursday. It is also known as college night around the universities around the world. And how do I know that? Because I've managed to hit just about every college night for many a year now. Anyways, all that aside, welcome everybody. Tonight is a special night because we're going to be talking about a few headlines from around the world, of course. But we're also going to pose some questions, specific questions for this very specific audience about, and it's something to ponder about here now, about the 51st state. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, let me tell you firsthand, I'm not talking about Guam. I'm definitely talking about the island of Canada, and definitely more importantly, Alberta. And will they or won't they? And isn't it stunning how Alberta is becoming more and more like Crimea over there in Ukraine? So yeah, so that we're going to pose that question about 20 minutes in, and we're going to open the lines if you want to call in, as we do have a Canadian audience, and we love Canadians. In fact, I was just telling Aaron Cates this the other day. Is my diet regimen consists of, and I kid you not, Royal Crown Kipper fish snacks. I absolutely love with salt and vinegar. So and he says to me, "Well, Dean, aren't you boycotting Canada?" I said, "Well, why would I? Where else can you find such just delicious fish from, I believe, the east coast of the country?" So, anyways, we're going to be getting to that. Also, we're going to be looking at a few stories that are pressing and not so pressing, but there's a lot of talk about what's happening in Iran as the war drums are beating very loudly, and the war hawks are having just incredible amounts of fantasies about it. We'll get into that, and then we'll talk about some of the trade wars now that are underway and the tariffs. And you're going to hear about the stock market tanking, all by design, all planned, and we'll see what that looks like and who's getting inspired by it. And somebody had another visit in the Oval Office. Yes, Laura Loomer did. Whoever that is, we'll see what she has to say about it. And it's probably not very nice. Patience wear thin sometimes. And also, there is a new fragrance overpowering AIDS. They're now saying, believe it or not, President Emmanuel Macron has a new cologne. Yeah. Just when you thought you saw everything, like how he's married to a tranny who just so happens to be his dad and his music teacher all in one. Yeah, it's not over yet. This is a Gotham nightmare. Okay, let's get started. And before we do, we are broadcasting live on. I'll tell you, we're not on Facebook tonight because Facebook has put the death grip on Real Deal Media. Yes. And the shadow ban has gone into overdrive. So we're on YouTube over there at the Graveyard, Dean Ryan TV, as well as Rumble. So 2 places specifically, and we couldn't be happier. But let's get started with some headlines around the world and in your neck of the woods. All right, let's do a few headlines, shall we, as this Thursday is preceding the affairs here tonight. Well, here's another headline for you about Iran. And just the other night, we told you that Trump is mulling over bringing another U.S. Navy vessel into the territory over there in Iran. Well, now Iran has rebutted and said they're mulling a preemptive strike on U.S. base after Trump bomb threats. And by the way, I find this very hard to believe, but let's pretend for a little while. Yes, Iran files complaint on Trump's bomb threats with the United Nations. The Iranian military commanders are considering a preemptive strike, according to who? On a joint U.S.-UK base over there in Chagos Island, located in the Indian Ocean, in an apparent attempt to deter President Donald Trump from launching a military strike on Iran. Well, here's what they have to say about it. An expert who's definitely most doubtfully familiar with the matter, he says, quote, "Like any Iranian military threat, the art is to determine what is bluster and what is real." Yeah. And same thing applies when you go to Bangkok in the red light district, too. You just don't know who the Lady Thai boys are these days, do you? As they say, well, now the Iranian expert and senior fellow of the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. And how pleasant does that sound? The defense of democracies. It's really the offense. But they told Fox News Digital, when asked about the strategy behind the alleged threats of the U.S. base, well, they also said that deception is a propaganda tool used to bolster deterrence and prevent conventionally weak regimes from having to fight. So, this is just more rinse, repeat, recycle, and do it all over again. We've been through this before. If you're an older American who's seen things since the 1950s, can you name a year we haven't been at war? So there you have it. So now we get to just prepare for the next world war with Iran at behest of Israel and our greatest ally in the region. And we don't know why that is, though. We just don't know why. It's just like, it's like showbiz friends. You don't know why you're friends with them. Well, speaking of which, friends and foes, well, now there's a trade war. And experts are saying, as they're mulling over some answers, they're saying that there's going to be some major losers in this trade war now. It's the greatest tradition of reality television we're watching, and they're saying that the Americans will be paying a lot more in farming, food, taxes, you name it, all across the board. Oh, is that so? That's right. This is coming out of Reason magazine. They're saying Americans love foreign products, but indulgence in Canadian whiskey, Mexican avocados, and even Brazilian coffee might be a tough thing and a real challenge going forward. They're saying because the duties, that's the taxes on these things, are going to have a negative downturn effect on the agriculture sector here in the United States, which relies heavily on trade. Despite exporting over 175 billion worth of agriculture products, the third highest level on record, it imports outpace exports in 2024. It's so bad. We even had to report this the other night that the egg shortage in the United States, we have to go to Brazil to get our eggs now. Isn't that just the most dastardly thing you've ever heard about? And then I thought, well, what the hell, what kind of eggs are we eating at McDonald's right now? And whose eggs are those? Just a question. Well, they're saying now if history is any indicator, farmers are sure to pay for Trump's trade war. During the first Trump administration, the retaliatory tariffs on American goods led to $27 billion in losses to agriculture exports, according to the United States Department of Big Ag, most which was caused by the lost trade with China. Which, I mean, is that really a lost? I mean, who's ever bought Chinese products and then, there's like these toxicities on them. There's lead. We found out in California that the alleged Governor Newsom paid $4.5 billion to a car manufacturer, not for cars, but to make masks that damn well these old, just Chinese factory workers were stepping on with their bare feet. We all know it. Yes, we do. Yeah, so we're going to have a huge 25% increase in duties, taxes now. Let me give you the list here. Wednesday's announcement, just the other day, the elevated tariffs on three America's 5 largest agriculture trading partners. So here's in the pecking order who's going to just receive the most tariffs. China is 34%, European Union 20%, and Japan 24%. Mexico and Canada, which are America's 2 largest trading partners, were exempt from the list, but have faced a 25% duties on certain products since March. Yeah, I mean, see, we've been looted for so long. We have all these tariffs on us. And, Trump is actually correct. I've been to England many times. You'd be hard pressed throughout all of Europe, England, and even all the way to the Mediterranean. The only beer that represents the United States is Budweiser. You can't find anything else. You can't find anything else. So, all those markets I just shared with you there make up more than 60% of the American agriculture exports, and retaliatory tariffs have already been enacted by some. So, yeah, China is not too happy about this. This is why they kicked BlackRock out of the Panama Canal. Yes, they did. And they're not happy about it one bit. And their land grabbing days are being really met with some challenge and pushback this go around, if you ask me. Now, a lot of people in the lamestream Urine Soak media have now started to complain and lump us together as Russian agents all over again. Just when you thought lightning couldn't strike 5 times, well, it has now. We become Russian agents because they're saying that. Isn't it funny how Trump's new tariffs will actually forego and leapfrog over Russia? Oh, really? Yeah. So I guess that's a bad thing now. They're saying White House spins as Russia is omitted from tariffs lists because they're going to be the biggest trading partner. You watch. Everybody in the United States, every household in this country is going to have one of the most finest, pure imported Russia vodka you've ever seen in your life. Well, yes, the White House has pushed back on critics who have pointed out that Donald Trump has conspicuously, what a word, missed Russia from sweeping new ground of global tariffs. In fact, even White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leave It Alone has also said by precluding any meaningful trade, she said, what's the big deal? That's right. So now they're saying it's optics, sparing Russia even amid threats and bluster. See, the closer we get to Russia, the further in just the ditch in the glue factory the EU and NATO go. And I couldn't be happier. I'd rather speak Russian than live in like Brussels, the home of the Pedalites. So not a bad thing. And finally, sticking in the White House, this is something I found very interesting. Trump purges national security team after Laura Loomer calls for heads to roll in Oval Office meeting. How does this broad have so much power that she could just call for heads to roll? Who is this woman? Do you know what I'm talking about? And I'm going to show you because I'm so sick and fed up with all these people that have just, earned their way into the Trump White House, certainly foreign countries and foreign actors. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Let me show you this here, right here. So Laura Loomer has enough power to call for heads to roll. And I can't understand why, wink, wink. It's just beyond me. Look at this. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, all in black, or as she's known back home and on the streets, the Mossad agent called Laura Loomer. And I love the titles, far-right activist conspiracy Loomers, call for heads to roll. So that's who I'm talking about. Anyways, let me continue here as we have much more to get to. But yeah, let me tell you more about this because they're saying that Mr. Trump may act on Miss Loomer's recommendations. Well, what are those and what does that really proceed and mean? They're saying that on Wednesday afternoon, Loomer sat with President Donald Trump in the Oval Office, plying him with claims about staff members who she insisted he should dismiss. And mind you, this is a woman who says we need to support Israel at all cost and give up our firstborn. If this was Aztec days, she would be just grabbing people's babies and throwing them to the emperor over there. Well, the meeting came after a recent string of social media attacks by Ms. Loomer on the Trump administration officials. She's saying, including Alex Wong, the deputy national security advisor, Mr. Wong's boss, Mr. Waltz, have been all under fire from directors both inside and outside the administration. You might remember Signalgate. That was quite embarrassing. A non-secure commercial messaging app. Well, it's pretty secure. It's just, who they had on there. They're saying that several members of President Trump's embattled National Security Council have been fired already. A U.S. official and a second source familiar with the matter told a publication who I dare not name. Well, they're saying we're asking why it matters. Well, the firings come a day after the so-called conspiracy theorists. I mean, does that word still mean anything? It means absolutely nothing because all those conspiracy theorists actually in the past 5 years have become, well, as we know it around here, conspiracy realists. Well, Laura Loomer, who visited the Oval Office just days ago, pressed Trump to fire-specific national behinds had slipped through the vetting process for administration jobs, referring to hawkish foreign policy views commonly associated with the Bush administration. Well, she's absolutely correct on that. She's absolutely right. So maybe I have to take back my rhetoric because I can't disagree with anything she said there. But still, she is a turd in a punch bowl, to use the phrase. Okay, let's end it there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this now. I was doing some skulking around, as I usually do, and I want to show you the latest. There's a few things about Canada here, because if Canada is going to be the 51st state, we have to make sure we welcome them with open arms and, brothers got a hug and all that stuff. But let me show you this, because I have each and every night, I've seen the same story in the mainstream about Canadian tourists leaving. Okay. And then the next day it's Canadian school students are leaving. Then Canadian snowbirds want to sell all their homes. And here's what I'm talking about, because I'm so sick of it. But I want you to be sick of it too. I hate being the only one who's sick. So look at this here. Canadian travel to U.S. is plummeting. There's a lot of anger. Well, probably because they're all going to Mexico to escape the euthanasian the ministry of death over there. So these are just stories every single day. They keep getting promoted. Canadians are pushing back against iconography and American culture, blah, blah, blah. 20 million Americans. And the reason I bring this up too, because I'm not sure. I really question the validity of some of these quote stories. I really do. I really question the sanctity and the validity of them. But now, moving on, I don't even cover those. Look at this one here. This is now regarding Alberta. And this was just from a week ago. And then I want to show you one from a bit ago. So this is coming out of the New York Post. Here it is. Well, it says, meet Canadians over the moon at the prospect of joining the United States. Well, it's kind of hard to see anything past these ads, per usual. That's New York Post for you. Anyways, they're saying they're in a U.S. state of mind. Some Canadians are thrilled with Trump's pledge to make the Great White North the 51st state in the Union and are eager to pledge their allegiance. So, yeah, we want to be the 51st star on the flag, Albertan Peter Donning. And look at that. He was over the moon. Yeah, when Trump first suggested the move in November, meeting with former Canadian Prime Minister in the whore of Havana himself, Justin Trudeau. So how exciting. Now, what's thrilling is, in all my years of covering Canada, everybody's always told me that Alberta was the Texas of Canada, and how exciting that could be. Now, this seems to have been in the works for quite some time. Because look at this article here. This is all the way back from 2023. And it shows you that there has been a hunger and a thirst. And I would even say just to be in the United States, I would more or less just to say to get the hell out of Canada and the Communist Guard, as the People's Republic of Canada is now forming into China Light, like the Democrats. Well, look at this. It's all the way back from 2023, May, so 2 years ago, almost to be exact. It's called the Alberta 51 Project. Explain why the province is likely to join the United States anytime soon. So this was before any mention that we've been talking about anytime recently. So, yeah, so a tiny group of Alberta separatists. Now, why this is so important, too, is because there's a lot of projects like that here in the United States. We shared with you just, I believe, a week ago that many cities throughout Illinois want to get the hell out of Illinois in that state and go to Indiana. So you're going to see a lot of reshuffling, and the big one's going to be California. You wait and watch for that one. But let's go through some of this here, because it's all learning for us Americans, because we know absolutely nothing about Canada. They're saying this group, they're saying they're constitutional protections from the monarchical dictatorship, which cannot be achieved within the Commonwealth system. I agree. They're saying that freedom not created by or privilege accorded by men, but given their creator natural law, protected by men. Yes, see, they're all on board. This certain group here, they argue that because Alberta would be landlocked as an independent nation, it makes sense to join the United States, where the bulk of Alberta's trade, some $78 billion in 2020, goes. So isn't that interesting? Now, I asked, upon looking into this further, I asked, well, what does Alberta have? And a source who's definitely familiar with the matter said they have their own oil, they have their own gold, they have their own log rolling, the whole nine. So here's the question we're going to start posing, and feel free to join the convo. The call-in feature should be there. If not, we'll have one of our interns do it. But the question being is, will Alberta, and Alberta only, will it become the United States' 51st state? Will they become their own country? Maybe go the way of Scotland, we thought they were going to go. Or will they just stay right at home in Canada, and this is just a bunch of fiddlesticks just rubbing each other together to no avail? That's a good question. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. During the convo, you can call into our StreamYard feature at your leisure. At your leisure. Okay, while you do that, there was another story here I wanted to touch upon. Just the other night, we couldn't get to World at War. I think this is rather significant, is Mayor Eric Adams, as we used to call him, Mayor Boondoggle over there in New York, who is remaining the mayor, who's going to be taking on the big gorilla himself, Cuomo, who's trying to return for his people. Well, here is just a little touch upon a little update of what's happening in New York, because New York, California, two critical players in this whole chess piece. And then we're going to check for callers in. Feel free to tell us what your thoughts are going to be for the 51st state being Alberta. So as we play Canadian bingo here tonight at Real Deal Media Live, let's go to Mayor Boondoggle.
The reason that with prejudice is important is it means that these charges cannot be brought again. And the judge says that he did this for a very specific reason. He said that everything here, quote, smacks of a bargain, and dismissal of the indictment in exchange for immigration policy concessions. So, Vlad, what this judge is worried about is that he thinks the government wants to hold leverage over Eric Adams. If he dismissed the case without prejudice, that would mean that these charges could be brought again. So he thinks that this is the fairest way to handle this case. And he's very clear here that this has nothing to do with the merits of the case against Eric Adams, Vlad. It's that he thinks this is the best way to proceed because he also cannot force the Justice Department to continue prosecuting this case. And he thinks it's fairest to the defendant, Eric Adams, because he expresses that it seems quite clear to him that they were trying to create leverage over him. They were saying that he couldn't proceed with federal immigration policy actions while this case was ongoing, but points to an example where Eric Adams was in fact implementing that policy at Rikers Island while the case was happening. So now this case against Eric Adams is dismissed and these charges cannot be brought again.
Right. There you go. Yeah. So Mayor Adams is off the hook now. He's off the hook and even off the chain. Okay, we have a few callers who are calling in, and feel free to do so. And let me put this on the screen here. We're just trying to reach out and touch faith, per usual, as we are on Rumble. Okay, go ahead and do so. All right, let's get our first caller here. Guess he's coming, calling. Caller, thanks for calling in here at Real Deal Media Live. Where are you calling from here tonight?
Hi, D. I'm Libby Little. I'm calling from South Detroit. How are you tonight?
Very good. Very good. What are your thoughts on the pending sale of Alberta? Are they going to be coming into the United States, or do you think they're going to stay put over there in Canada?
Hold on, D. That really does make me cry when I hear that kind of stuff. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like him. I think I got a pubic hair in my mouth.
Oh, wow. So my understanding, you're calling from Canada. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the consensus over there in Canada right now? Are there a lot of Canadians kind of unifying against America? Or are they kind of waking up to the realities of their own government?
Well, I really like Mark Conent because I'm 55 years old and I live in my parents' basement, and I get welfare every month, and the carbon tax, I get more than I put in, and I get a carbon tax rebate. So if Mark Conent don't get in, I'm in deep trouble. I'm gonna have to find a job and have to pay tax.
Well, that's That's an interesting take, and we have a lot of people who are very passionate tonight. We have Lena Star Moon, who's returning. She says he looks like Randy Quaid from Kingpin. I initially thought that too. You have a very unique kind of a rock and roll look there.
I hear
Um,
Howard Stern sometimes. Howard Stern.
Yeah, well, he wears a wig as well. Very interesting. Okay. Let me ask you, sir. A lot of people they're looking at Canada right now with just mere and utter shock. You have a country that state sponsors euthanasia. You have a country that state sponsors pretty much every so-called liberal thing, but it's all globalist. Are you still a liberal today in the face of all this globalism?
I love liberals, D. I'm gonna own nothing. I'm gonna like it. I like that Klaus Schwab guy. I really do. I like Klaus. Klaus could be my uncle, Uncle Klaus.
So,
You're not
yeah,
laughing
Klaus
at me, are you, Dean? I thought we were
No.
friends.
So, sir, what are your hopes here as you having a special election coming up in Canada on the end of the month? What do you think is going to happen? How's that? Which way is the country going to go? Which direction?
We're going to go very far left. We're going to go as far left as we can on the map, all the way to China.
Yes, we are far left indeed. Now, are people? Would you say Canadians are more accepting of China than they are the U.S. at this point in time?
I love Chinese food. Chinese food makes me sick sometimes if I eat too much of it. But I really like China. Like Jinping. I really like Jinping. He's a good friend, Jinping. Everything I buy on Amazon comes from China.
Sir, have you had any miracle jabs in the past year, or maybe even a month to week to days?
In Canada, we get the 3-for-1 jobs for free.
The 3-for-1.
We get 3-for-1. We get monkeypox. Okay, we get the measles that go on your weasel, and you get the COVID-19. 3-for-1. I got 18 booster shots.
Wow, 18 booster shots. And what does that feel like?
I feel fine. What do you think? I look fine.
Wow.
I even get free drugs over here from the government. I don't like about Canada. I get this stuff. It says MK Ultra on the bottle. It's a medication called MK Ultra. It really makes me smart. I drink Weisers, by the way, too, because Weisers, as a whiskey, it makes me smarter because it's Weisers.
Well, I'm so glad you called in because I initially got excited. I thought you initially were the lead singer of Nickelback, and I was just so thrilled to speak to you after all these years. But I guess I
wish I had 2 nickels to rub together in Canada. I'd give you a nickel back if I had it.
Well, are you going to be voting for Mark Carney, or are you going to be voting for Olivera Pierre, or are you going to vote for Christina Freeland? Who will you be voting for, sir?
Well, Pierre Olivera Newton-John. No, I'm not voting for him. I'm voting for Mark Carney. Mark Carney's my man. I think he's going to go up against Donald Trump in a trade war, and everybody's going to be without a job in Canada and on welfare. Like UBI, they got this new system. Let me tell you about it. It's called the UBI system.
Tell me, please.
It's called a Universal Basic Income. And I
what
looked
is
into it. I looked into it on TikTok. On TikTok, it's all really nice on TikTok. I really like that. I like that platform, TikTok. UBI, everybody gets free money for the rest of their life. You don't have to do nothing.
Yeah, well, kind of in closing, Libby, right? I assume that's your name. I think I overheard you.
Let me
Now,
liberal. Let me liberal.
now, are you? My final question, sir, and I really thank you for calling in here. Is kind of to close it all out? Uh, will Canada finally embrace their real, true national identity, but more importantly, their true national language, Mandarin Chinese, or are they going to stick with the French Canadian kind of translations?
Well, I like China. I really do. I like the dictatorship because as a liberal, it's got the word dick in it, and liberals love dick. Okay, so I like dictator. I've already learned some words in Chinese, dude. I gotta say hi in Mandarin. Ni hao, ni hao.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Shui shui to you and Mihao to you. Thank you very much for calling in. There you have it. Libby, the Canadian, wonderful. Thank you very much. See, you just never know who's going to call in here. You never know who's going to call in here. And yeah, if you're just getting here, we unusual callers from all over the world. And let me put that call feature back on just in case we have any more very unusual people from the carnival. And feel free to do so over there on Rumble as well. Okay, let's see what some people are saying. We do have another caller. I'll put him in 1 second. All right, we have some people. We have Dame Pam saying Libby rocks like pebble rolling down straight into a septic tank. Thank you, Dame Pam, for the image. That is more than I bargained for. That's articulation at its finest. We have Lena Star Moon, who's having issues with the last caller's English, saying, I couldn't tell you anything she said. Well, sometimes you just got to guess. That's very true. Okay, here's another one. We have PDS 10. I think Libby needs dental care. Has the liberals offered him that? That's a good question because dental care in this country, my God, it is expensive and not cheap. And I've yet to meet a dentist that has not recommended a root canal that he gets, we all know they get kicked back on. So there's that one. Okay. All right. Let's have another caller call in here. And we have a break coming up. So we'll try to squeeze him in here. And before we do, I just want to also mention tonight's feature here is brought to you by Ivermectin. Make sure you get your Ivermectin so you don't wind up like that last caller who just phoned us. We probably needs some Ivermectin and I mean as a suppository too. Okay, let's have our another caller here before we go to break here. We have Mr. Watland all the way from Iowa who's recovering, and I should say successfully, from a cancerous kind of ordeal. How are you doing, Mr. Watland?
Well, I want to say a few prayers for my blessed Canadian counterparts.
Yes,
they are some good friends of ours, and I am in their corner. I want freedom for them, and we'd like a little bit of freedom back here.
That's right.
Yeah, I got my ivermectin today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it couldn't have came at a better time. And,
yes. Can we tell people that you are cancer free now? Is that something we can announce?
They have located no cancer in me, but
very good.
It means that I can't say that I can say
cancer
maybe
free. Well, one day at a time here, but you feel better. That's the most important part. You look good, feel better. You lost some weight, and I know without getting into the minutia of it all that you've been through a quite the ordeal in the past 72 hours. But kind of before we go to break, Mr. Watland, what's your weigh-in here as the 51st state they're saying could very well be Alberta? And from all prospects, Alberta looks like a perfect fit, just like Crimea does with Russia. What say you on that front?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been without, you know, my I've been without news media for a while. Just completely, I was incarcerated for a while, like for a couple days, without any due process of law, and I had all my cell phone confiscated, and was not allowed to watch any news media for 2 days, and somehow, you know, God has blessed me to survive that, what I had to survive.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it's
I got
terrible, but
I got
it's
shot
terrible.
with Diprexa. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a very dangerous drug for
It
seniors.
sounds it.
Uh,
Wow. Well, we're so lucky to have you, and you know, you have a bigger story to tell. But you know, I think the big takeaway is that you're continuing on with your march for a greater health freedom than you know you've probably ever had in quite some time, and then you know you're going forward, and it's good to see that.
yes.
So, okay. All right, Mr. Watland, I'm so glad you called in, and we'll be talking very soon. And you could hear about Mr. Watland's story and his journey if you become a member, and you're going to hear more stories like that behind the scenes. Thank you for calling in, Mr. Watland.
Yes.
Okay.
It's good to be known that I'm still alive.
You are. It's a miracle. And yeah, I'm still alive too somehow. But we'll be talking after the show. There you have it. Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, we're going to have more open lines for you here tonight. And maybe, I guess, can we say that was a quote unquote liberal from Canada that graced our presence with his Libby? I don't even know what that was about. Anyways, stand by. We'll be back after this quick break here at Real Deal Media Live, where we're talking to you about the 51st state. Don't go anywhere. Well, if you and your partner have monkeypox, the best thing you can do to protect yourself outside of a cubicle that you desperately and violently want right now, well, you need to avoid having sexual relations with anyone by the following: with oral, anal, and vaginal. Yes, vaginal number 5. It's a really strong fragrance that works for everybody, but peach. Also, do not kiss and touch each other's bodies while you are sick. Do not kiss or touch bodies, especially anything with rashes. Also, in closing, do not share things like towels, fetish gears, sex toys, toothbrushes.
Got the worst cold a human being ever had. I've got a major presentation tomorrow. I've got to rest, and I'm out of NyQuil. I could take these, but I'd still be up all night coughing, which means I'd be a wreck for the presentation, which means I could get fired. What am I going to do?
Feeling like crap has become all too common these days. Everyone keeps asking that important question. You got Ivermectin?
Got ivermectin?
You got ivermectin.
Say goodbye to those illnesses that Big Pharma just can't cure. And say farewell and bon voyage to the parasitic forces preventing you from living. Real Deal Media is now powered up with the Wellness Center to bring you the medicines that matter. Go to www.twc.health.com/Dean Ryan. Make sure to use promo code Dean Ryan. Start truly living by taking back the control of your health. Okay. Sorry about that. Yes, we lost all frequency there. So apologies here. Welcome back to Real Deal Media Live. We're just a technical snafu from completely being washed into the abyss. I'm still Dean Ryan, who is going to be sticking with you as long as I'm allowed to here to midnight and beyond. Okay. What a first half of a show there. First half of the show. Let me answer some of these. Okay, we have notable. He says, Dean coming back in a wig or something. See, this is how rumors get started. See, just a little something like that. Little something like that. But no, my toupee is fine. Okay, here's another one. We have All Blue Eyes says, take care, everyone. Take care. You take care, too. I love tucking people in bed and saying goodnight. Yes, I do. I'm like the Kris Kringle who has no gifts. We have Farm Girl who asked, was that even real? Was that really real? Was it really real? Nothing's real. Nothing's real. Nothing is real. It's just like strawberry fields. Okay, we have Dame Pam who says, we want the perfume info of Vagino number 5. God, I remember doing that live, and I couldn't believe. Does everyone remember when the monkeypox were the big, talk around the town? Do you know how awkward that was? Just reading it and then telling people about it. I mean, imagine that. Imagine the convo parents around the United States had to have with their children. I mean, oh God. I mean, it was bad enough when the Star report came out about the Clinton-Lewinsky affair. And that was front page news, and that was so awkward. I remember my grandmother asked, I don't even want to say this, but she asked what something was. 2 letters, begins with a B. Anyways, okay, let's move on here as I'm having flashbacks. And if you want to call in, I'll put this out again. Feel free to call in at your leisure. We have a lot of people from Facebook here, and we're sorry we couldn't be there tonight, but Facebook will not have us. Yes. Okay, we have, thank you for being here, Tim. Finally got a Rumble account. All right, yeah. You're going to see just how great it is at Rumble. Thanks for being here, Tim. Okay, here's some things. Speaking of fragrance, I want to show you this. This is unbelievable. This is about Macron's fragrance. You got to see it to believe it. It's really something to be had. And then I want to tell you about a young man, a tragic story of sorts. Okay, so this story here is about Emmanuel Macron, the man who married a woman, or excuse me, what he thought was a woman, but wound up being his dad. And what a title of a biopic that would be, wouldn't it? I think so. Anyways, so here's Mr. Macron. How do you say? Oh, yes. He's got a new fragrance I'm going to tell you about in case you want to buy this as it's a great stock. Well, Emmanuel Macron, they're saying, wears so much cologne that AIDS scent his presence before he enters the room. I mean, can you imagine Pepe Le Pew over here? Like, he's coming around the corner. He's been in a room. He's almost like that strong curry that you just can smell at the Indian restaurant, or dare I say the Ganges River. They're saying in what seems to be a deliberate attribute of power, him putting his stench right in your face, Mr. Macron sprays on the, quote, industrial amounts of Dior et Sauvage, according to a new book now. That's right, extracts from the Tragedy of Alice by Les Passions journalist Olivier Beaumont claim Mr. Macron freshens up now with popular cologne at all hours of the day. And the women, they go crazy. They take off their brassiere and their pantyhose and go just like that. No? Well, it's a 100 milliliter bottle of the Eau de Parfum retail for €100, which is, I believe, $10,000 in US. That's right. And Mr. Macron always has a bottle handy, and always a bottle always to hand, particularly in one of his drawers. Oh, not his pants, his desk, excuse me. Well, the book claims that less accustomed visitors may find themselves overcome by the floral and musky scent. Well, what makes it musky, we ask? What makes it so musky? And dare I ask, and dare I say, please don't tell me. Well, it's as refined as it is powerful. It's a sign of one thing, that the president is in the building. Yes, it is. In fact, there was other people that have been wearing this before. You might know some of them. In fact, I believe it was Johnny Depp that wore this recently. There you go, right there. Yeah, Johnny Depp used to promote this, but he's now promoting Emmanuel Macron. So Sauvage is the best-selling fragrance in the world, and extractably linked to people like Johnny Depp, as you can plainly see there, who has just really put a name on it, but he can forget him. He's no more. It's Mr. Macron is known to like to stage and manage his vitriolity by wearing open-necked shirts, as we saw previously. Yes, he does. And who can forget? Who can forget that just ravishing man? And also, the effect is immediate. They're saying it's not subtle, but it's fast. It means, watch out, here I come, says former aide. So much so that several staff members end up joking and choking about an expression they heard from one wing to another. They said, quote, it smells like the president. In certain parts of the president that we dare not name, they say you only have to be in the vestibule d'honneur to know whether he has been there recently or not, admits Bruno Rager Petit, a top Macron aide. Baudouin is part of the Bernard Arnault's LVMH empire. He is France and Europe's richest person and is seen as very close to President Macron. Now, I know what you're asking. What about Macron's wife/daddy? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Well, now there's Mr. Macron's wife, Brigitte, wears Louis Vuitton, also an Arnold brand, the book notes. Even after 20 years of living together, Brigitte is still surprised by this and lets out a loud, oh, literally, this is what it says. Lets out a loud, oh, when asked about her husband's smell. And quote in closing here, this does not prevent her when he sometimes flies abroad for a few days from following herself a coutier, spraying herself lightly with her husband's perfume when she's feeling lost without him, to have the feeling that her man is not very far away, the book claims. Feeling like I need to hurl and gouge my eyes out is just one of the first steps of feeling extremely ill. On another extract, it transpires the French president also insists that aides keep a box of dark sunglasses, each uglier than the last, to be given to guests he quizzes in the garden when the sum is out in case they forget their own. So he's got just bottles of this stinky cologne, and then he's just got ugly sunglasses. I mean, what kind of weirdo is this? Then again, he's married to a tranny. So there you have it. I don't know what to say about that, but Emmanuel Macron is quite an interesting cat, isn't he? Interesting cat. Okay, here's another just weird video. This was sent to me, and before we go through the live chats here, a lot of people have been asking in light of the Puff Daddy scandal, of what's happened to Justin Bieber. And I've received countless videos about Justin Bieber that I can't make sense of. But then again, when you realize you're waking up to the realities and the horrors of the traumatic, the traumatic stress you've been under since a little kid, I mean, things go awry. And so I'm going to show you this video, but it's eerily reminding me and reminiscent of Aaron Carter in his final days. And that's a very scary thing to share. But check this out here.
I've been the shit.
Weird stuff there. Doesn't make sense, does it? It really makes no sense. Now, look at this one here. They're saying now Hailey Bieber, who's one of the Baldwins, I think that's Haley Baldwin, am I correct on that? She has now unfollowed her own husband. And these people have just had a baby together, unbeknownst to myself. They're saying, yeah, this is just coming out here. And, and it's a very sad state of affairs. And I think that people understand how these things work now. There's really nobody who is shooting barbs at this young guy anymore, because they understand the levels of abuse that he was under. But let me tell you about this now. This is quite interesting now. So yeah, Haley Baldwin and Justin Bieber, who apparently were married all the way back in 2018, which I totally did not know, and I'll probably forget about in 5 minutes, but have been subject of an onslaught of speculation lately about their own marriage. That's probably the last or second, third, or fourth thing people are thinking about. People are more interested in what the hell is going on with this guy and who can save this guy. And he's trying to, because we did a story where he was putting cryptic pictures out of shipping containers with kids in it. It's a cry for help, but he's being watched and managed closely like a hawk, and they'll make it look like an accident if he strays too away from the plantation. Well, less than a week before, Haley clarified that she had not unfollowed her husband on Instagram. He posted a photo of her putting up a middle finger in March. Okay, so we don't even know about that. And he's posting videos like that. So they're saying there's a flurry of gossip about what is in their future. And they have a 7-month-old child, So, a lot of these kids that get abused have different personalities, and they have what they call disassociation that comes out. And yeah, they're now realizing the levels of abuse. So, when is this guy going to be talking? When's he going to name the names? And will they end him before he gets a wild hair? And I think they're going to try to. We've seen much more happen for a lot less, haven't we? What are you saying out there? We have Lena Star Moon, who's been following this very closely. She is still following him. Okay. All right. Very interesting. Okay. We have mouth. Okay. I'm not showing that. That's disgusting. Mouth and salad. Please be mindful. Oh, God. But do I have to say be mindful? I swear, it's some people's own locker room, isn't it? Okay, we have El Majadi. It says, can you imagine that asshole is the head of France? What the freaking happened to society? Even if you can't imagine that he's the leader of France, his fragrance will remind you that he is when he's nearby too. Isn't that something? So I'm guessing you don't want a bottle. Okay. I guess I'll take you off the list. Thank you for that. Here's another one here. We have Susie Q saying, did he get measles? I don't think he did. I don't know. He has the eye that goes down. What is that called? Bell's palsy. That was a big thing with Bieber. Okay, we have PDS10, who's saving up all their euros. It says you can get 100 euros after October. It's all going digital. Well, it is, but it's been voted down so many times. I didn't get voted down in Canada. And I know Congress voted down the HSBC. Am I saying that right? Yeah, the digital out here in the United States. So that would be quite interesting. Notable says, Pepe stank le France. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you. We have Rebel Mama who says, James, our French correspondent, should be here to comment. Yes, he should be. And I think Rebel Mama has a question for me that was sent to me by a homing pigeon. Let me read it here. Okay, let me see this. What do we have here? Let me put this here. In fact, I'll show this on screen because it might be easier for me to remember it that way. This is coming from Marnie all the way in Canada. We have a lot of Canadians tonight. And she asked me the following. Here it is. Right? And tell me what it is. All right. There it is right there. It says, here's something to ponder over. Trump announced $6 trillion in investment in his first 72 days. Virtually all the companies involved are massive corporations, boards of directors. Firstly, decisions to spend billions of dollars takes years to evaluate, plan, and approve. BlackRock owns major stake in every one of these companies. Larry Fink would have to approve all of them. Is Larry playing the Trump team? Is this military operation as Q thinks? That's a question. That's a hell of a question. Is Trump... Well, okay. So, you have to almost live under a BlackRock to think that BlackRock is not popular or BlackRock is popular with the people. I mean, we find out everything. In the same regard that you have to live under a BlackRock, if, you think a war is going to be popular or a completely absurd over-the-top alliance with like an Israel or a China or, AstraZeneca or the Miracle Jab Industries. So, I have to go back to our dogmas from, almost actually 3 years ago now, that this movie is not over yet, sadly. There is at least one big major chapter left. And the chapter is now coming back to the big nuke scare, the big wartime scare. Now, you remember what we shared with you, the intel that came out of the UK and the EU is what we have been witnessing is a major worldwide military drill called ZIL, Z-I-L. And, the case can be made, but, the scary part about that is during these drills, as you know, that's when the false flags happen. That's when, it goes live. And I say, i.e. 9/11. So we know that front. And we also know that the CIA they've infiltrated the World Economic Forum long ago, hence why they do the occultic stuff. It's more of a symbol of they've been taken over, they've been captured, if you will. It's not crazy to think the same has happened to BlackRock. So I think what Trump does is he goes in there and he weighs, do you just tear down the whole thing? Like, for instance, like Coca-Cola. Do you tear down Coca-Cola and get rid of it, all the employees and all the influence, all the bureaus all over the world, or do you just capture, infiltrate Coca-Cola and manage it that way? As it's one of the major American companies still in the game. I think it is, or it might be once again. Like Miller Genuine Draft is, it's made in South Africa, and some of the most iconic American brands are not even made here. Harley Davidson being one of them. So it's hard to say. I would say that at the very least, I think, Trump is the cursor of where everybody should be paying attention, and it's being showcased for a reason. But to sit here and tell you that BlackRock is, and at the end of the day too, propaganda by the federal government is still legal. The Smith-Mundt Act has still been repealed. So, it could just be for that very reason we're hearing these just bombastic, wild things that make no sense. It's truly a very, very thick psychological warfare. And only the brave and the bold will get through it and be remembered. So do you like that answer? Because it answered nothing. Very little. Thanks for stumping me. Okay, here's another one here. We have the Cannabis Connoisseur. Love that name. Thank you. What about BlackRock and the Panama Canal? What about BlackRock and the Panama Canal? I don't like the idea of whether it's Jared Kushner, in his plans with Gaza, or whether it was Dick Cheney and Halliburton, their plans with the BP oil spill, or, Iraq. These are very nefarious companies, very nefarious. And just, it doesn't sit, if it doesn't sit well with me, it's not going to sit well with MAGA people. And, I had to correct somebody the other day who just thinks MAGA people fall in line with whatever Donald Trump does. No, this is a very different group of people than Trump 1.0 term. No, this is very different. The people this go around, a lot of them voted because they wanted Robert F. Kennedy in there for the health reasons and their children. A lot of people voted because they just hate Democrats. A lot of people because they don't want more. So there's a lot of special interest voters, sometimes one issue voters. And if they don't get what they wanted they cast their votes for, they're not going to be just cheering everything that goes on here. So it's very specific, and people are very fed up with this entire film we've all been living through. So this is different. These people don't go along to get along. It's a very different atmosphere, if I might add. Okay, one more, and then I have to hit the road, Jack. Okay, here's another one. It is, how can we even say this? Here is this one here. Dame Pam says, does laughter at evil ones defeat evil one? Okay. If a tree fell in a forest and nobody was there to hear it, did the tree fall? If, Dame Pam she must teach a philosophy class at a local community college. I'm now convinced she does. That's a great question. Let me see that one more time here. Let me just let that sink in here. Does laughter at evil ones defeat evil one? Man, only if Simon says That's how I can say that. If Simon says, then maybe. That's a great question, and I'm not even sure what it. It's so cryptic, that one. It's like a chat board we just read there. Thank you for that. Make my brain hurt. Here's another one. We have Mouthy of the Southie, and sometimes a crude mouth, but a Canadian one. He says, that's a Canadian singer. If a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. And finally, this is a great statement. Al Majadi says, laughter is the best medicine. Well, I'll tell you this, I did a skit on stage once a long time ago with the great Don Rickles, one of my heroes. And he has one of the best quotes ever. And I think it rings true to this day, that if you can make somebody laugh, you can give them a small vacation from their problems. Don't you think that's the case? I truly do, which brings us to... final thoughts. Final thoughts. You like the smell of my fragrance? No? It smells good, no? Hello? Oui. Final thoughts. Yes, it is here. Final thoughts for this incredible Real Deal Media Live with our incredible neighbors to the north who might be roommates and bunkmates, depending who you ask. Well, what's exciting here, despite all of the tariff trade wars and the war drums that are beating loudly to the Middle East once again, the consciousness of people around the world, not just the North American continent, has risen like a golden phoenix. And that is an unusual thing. It's a consciousness that has risen, and you cannot take anything away from that. And sometimes it takes these earth-shattering ordeals to raise the awareness of truly what's happening, because what some call a conspiracy theory, to many of us who are awake, who studied, who know how to read and know basic math, it's called conspiracy reality. And that's my final thought here tonight. That's it. Okay, so members, you will see me throughout the weekend. If you're not a Real Deal Media member, please feel free to join us. We have such a blast on the weekends and throughout the week and backstage. Become a visionary, debonair, play from the Himalaya, be iconic, not ironic, and become a night owl. Join us. Yes, join us. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv/membership, and you're going to see some extra content. You're going to have access to me and everybody here at Real Deal Media, even Aaron Cates. In fact, Aaron's going to say and probably invite you to dinner and stay and live at his house if you want over there in Toronto. So yes, become a night owl. realdealmedia.tv/membership. Okay, I'm out of here. I want to thank everybody who has joined me for this incredible evening. So from all of us here at Real Deal Media, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night. I'll be back very soon. In the meanwhile, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake, and don't go chasing them waterfalls.
Lonely mother gazing out her window, staring at a sun that she just can't touch. Anytime the sun and dinner and jam is by the side, she doesn't hate her so much. She really loves him. No, the playing just ain't helping, no, 'cause he can't seem to stay out of trouble. So he goes out and he makes his money best way he knows how, 'cause he can't seem to stay out of trouble. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. No, they don't have it, you're nothing, no, but I think you're moving too fast. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing, no, but I think I'm moving too fast. Moving too fast, yeah. One day goes and takes a glimpse in the mirror, doesn't recognize his own face. His health is fading, doesn't really understand why the letters took him to his resting place. You won't believe me. Don't go chasing waterfalls, listen to the rivers and the lakes that you used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing, no, but I think you're moving too fast. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please, the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing, no, but I think you're moving too fast. Listen to me.